This week, Brent White, Principal Security Consultant at Dark Wolf Solutions, joins us to talk about physical pen testing and everyday carry items. Then we've got a technical segment. I'll walk you through some Linux post-exploitation, some privilege escalation, all being done in our container lab that we make freely available on GitHub. In the final segment, the security news, temporary phones, webcam hacks that are so much more, bags of cash, patch WordPress plugins and patch them some more, crowdsourced government-funded vulnerability scanning, is that a good idea? Hiding deep in UEFI and bouncing off the moon, and even more UEFI vulnerabilities. If Samba were a fruit, it would be, well, vulnerable for one thing. Charming kittens fingerprinting you right in the GPU. Let's not encrypt. Your S3 bucket is showing again. And you can hack the latable. Can you hack the latest wearable sex toys intended to delay things? All that and more on this episode of Paul's Security Weekly.
This is Security Weekly. For security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly.
And welcome to this show thing. But first, let me introduce you to a man whose life is like toilet paper. He's either on a roll or he's taking crap from someone. Mr. Paul Asadorian.
Hey, welcome everyone. It's Paul's Security Weekly. It's episode number 726, recorded on February 2nd, 2021, right here in G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island. To my left, Mr. Larry Pesce.
Yeah, back in the studio a little bit. Yeah. Hey, what's with the beard? It's a little
fluffy?
Gray.
Yes. It's called having teenagers.
Well, I mean, I've had a teenager a little longer than you, and mine's... I'm just losing my hair up here instead.
There you go. We all display that stress in different ways.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Lee Neely is here with us remotely. Lee, welcome.
Good to be here. You know, I'm working on this crappy camera here. It's not behaving, but you know, what the heck? You know, I used to hate facial hair, but then it grew on me.
You're beautiful no matter what, Lee. Even when you're blurry. You're beautiful when you're blurry, even when you're blurry, I should say.
Especially when you're blurry?
Especially when you're blurry. Speaking of blurry, Mr. Josh Morpett is here with us. Josh, welcome.
Oh, hi. I'm not blurry. If you can't see the shine off my head, man, come on, you know.
It's very shiny. It's very shiny. And if Mr. Tyler Robinson is off his conference call, he is here with us. He's muted or he's still on his conference call. I can't tell which. He
looks surprised.
Certainly very handsome
and shiny.
And he's kissing us. All right, hopefully he comes back because I can't hear him. I don't know if that's. In any case, hey, we've got some announcements for you. Do we? I'm waiting for the announcement. Yes, we've got a few webcasts coming up. That's right. Join us February 16th to learn about validation techniques within applications. And validating those application vulnerabilities with Mr. Kevin Johnson. Then March 2nd, learn 5 things you can do to catch more bad guys using the Security Onion with Doug Burks. Finally, March 10th, join us for an introduction to Kql Queries. That will be, I don't think we have a graphic for that one. Do we? Oh, we do. Darwin Salazar, Cloud Security Consultant, will be talking about KQL Kung Fu, finding the needle in the haystack in Azure environments.
Wait. That Darwin?
That same Darwin. Yes. Wow. Darwin used to work here. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very cool.
Also on February 9th, a full live streaming day will be taking place from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. with Polarity for a chance to win cash prizes and a samurai sword trophy, which is like one of the coolest things ever. And you can participate in their contest. Basically, you've got to find the indicators of compromise in their contest. So it's kind of like a blue team CTF, which is awesome. You can register for all of these webcasts. The only thing you need, I mean, other than a web browser, a device, and an internet connection, is to go to securityweekly.com/webcast. Give us your name and email address, and I promise I won't share it with anyone. Maybe Larry, but we'll only email you stuff about the webcast. That's the only reason we're asking for name and email address. Typically, there's a handout and other materials that are associated with these webcasts. Everyone hangs out on Discord, So if you haven't joined our Discord server, make sure you join our Discord server. What I realized after doing the first one of these webcasts is the tips and tricks and awesome resources that were posted in the Discord was worth its weight in gold. So make sure you join our Discord server. There is a permanent invite on securityweekly.com/subscribe. Also, if you search the Discord community servers, we're in there now because we did that this week. So you can search for Security Weekly in the community Discord. Search, site, app, thing, whatever that's called. In any case.
If only we had a technical person to answer that question.
Right? Someone, a hipper and cooler technical person than I guess I'm the Unix graybeard going on. Brent White is here with us. He's the principal security consultant at Dark Wolf Solutions. He's the founder of Nashville DEF CON Group, DC 615, and is the global coordinator for the official DEF CON Conference Groups program. He joins us today to discuss tools for physical pen testing and everyday carry items. Brent, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Brent, how did you get your start in information security?
Well, I thought at one point I was going to be a rock star, and every rock star needs to have a cool website. And as I started figuring out how to program and build websites, I figured out I could also break those websites. And my best friend and co-worker, Tim Roberts, and I, before that, actually started out in the world of phone phreaking. And so it all ended up sort of just tying together. And luckily, I get paid to do it now. So
that's awesome. So you wanted to be a rock star? Were you in a band? Are you in a band?
Yeah, play a lot of music, and I actually live in Nashville. And the reason I moved down here was to, play music and pay my bills through college, through studio and live gigs and stuff. So
nice.
But then I had to grow up and get a real job. So
there you go. What instrument you play, or are you a singer?
Well, I do sing, but mostly drums, guitar, bass, piano, cello, kind of a mix of things. So
awesome.
Oh, drums? Oh, okay.
Yeah, drums. That's my thing, man. Since I was 3 years old.
How do you know the drum riser's level? The drool on both sides of the drummer's mouth is even.
There you go.
Wow.
I wasn't. So before this started, the dad jokes were in abundance, so I wasn't sure what was about to come my way there. So.
Oh, no. I have one of my business partners is a former professional musician who was a guitarist and a vocalist. He still does music occasionally. So we trade music jokes like my favorite is, what's the definition of perfect pitch? It's when you get the accordion in the toilet without hitting the rim.
Wow.
Here's a good one. Bass player walks past the bar.
That never happens.
So Brent, how did you get into physical pen testing and stuff like that?
So when I first started as a pen tester, that was a service offering, and through conferences and things that I had been to before, I'm not sure if you've heard of Ohm, Sean Satterley. I went to a presentation of his, and it was about dumpster diving and certain bypasses and things. And I just thought that was so cool, and kind of developed a passion about it from there. Stayed in touch with Sean, started learning a lot of techniques, bypass techniques, lock picking, and really just got into it and made it a point to prove myself with my employer at the time. Started doing some of the physical pen tests, and then became a SME, and Tim Roberts and I basically took that over at a different employer, and we just something that we're passionate about. It comes natural with the social engineering aspect of it, and it's really something we enjoy. We like the adrenaline rush of it. We like the challenge of being able to get in places we're not supposed to be in. So.
Outstanding. So what? I guess let's start with. It can go slightly off topic here, but like what we call EDC or everyday carry. I think there's a lot of us kind of like EDC nerds, which it doesn't necessarily translate into security or physical pen testing, but I think those of us that are into that kind of tactical EDC stuff want to carry stuff that's pertinent to maybe our jobs, maybe lockpicking, physical security type thing. So, like, Brent, I guess let's start with, like, what we carry on a everyday basis.
Yeah, and it's actually cool that you bring that up because so it seems like a lot of times when we talk about physical pen tests, it's okay, what bypass tools? But, as I really started digging into physical pen testing a long time ago, started realizing, long story short, a lot of my research started turning into how can I get this big, huge bag of tools and condense it down where I have it on me in everyday clothes, and you can't tell what I'm packing, basically. And that naturally sort of translates as well into the everyday carry or EDC, realm. And so,
a lot of those tools are like not. We want to talk about the cool, sexy lockpicks and breach tools, but if you left your flashlight at home, now we all have, flashlights on our phones and stuff. It's kind of cumbersome, right? So, like, I carry, in fact, I have it on me. I do. I carry a mini little flashlight, but it also has a magnet on one side, right? And that, not just for, like, lockpicking and stuff where you might need a light, but when you're working in server rooms and stuff like that, this is extremely, extremely handy. And it's nice and small and compact. And fits in my. You can't see it on camera, but I showed it to you earlier, Brent.
Some of the rest of us also have flashlights, and with magnets on them.
Yes.
And Damascus steel wedding rings so that they can hang them off their hand.
Nice. I actually have a little bit different solution to that. And we had talked about, like, with the EDC stuff. Well, I can change it slightly based off of what I'm doing. So if I know I'm going to be in a dark place, I can just throw one of these things in my pocket, and it's a light. So if I'm picking a lock, it's here, and I don't have to hold anything extra. So just something quick in your pocket. But
for our audio listeners, right? That was like a flash. It's kind of like a half glove that has a flashlight in it.
Yeah, it's got
definitely Michael Jackson
flashlight on the second and fourth finger. So yeah, EDC. Let's. I'm actually kind of, like you said, kind of nerd out about this because this stuff is so fun. I'll start off with the most basic thing. This is the Smith & Wesson tactical knife. This is obvious purposes. Breaking windows, self-defense, riding. It actually serves that purpose.
Yeah,
this thing is so
I don't know what brand I have, but I carry the tactical pen too, because I just like having a pen. It could double as a weapon in probably many other kinds of tools. The glass breaker thing. This has a glass breaker on it, but isn't there some first, when you're doing a physical pen test, you're probably not breaking the glass because that's your client, and you're not
breaking glass in a physical pen test is because things went wrong and you're trying to save yourself.
Right. It's bad scene. Yeah. But also with the automobile glass, though, a lot of the newer cars, this doesn't work so well, right?
Yeah, there is. I have a bracelet. I don't have it up here with me, but it's called Gtfo Bracelet. Figure out what
that's the one with the little scripto. Yeah, that's the one with little scripto flint on it. You do
small ceramic bead, and it's on an elastic band, and you pull it back really far, and it hits the glass, and it'll shatter it. That's for automotives, other things. I wear that every day, for worst case scenario.
Is that in case you get kidnapped, Brent, and put in the back seat of a car and you have to escape?
No, that's other stuff.
Oh, okay.
I have other things for that, but I don't carry that every day. I carry that if I'm not at home every day.
Mm-hmm.
Knives. I know knives, something probably people could talk about forever.
Oh my God. Larry and Josh specifically. I always carry in fact, I'm carrying the one that Larry gifted me. And what was the name of this? It was
this is Civivi?
Civivi. Yeah, it's a Civivi.
Those are nice.
So it's a Christmas gift from Larry. I really like it. It's really pretty.
I heard speakers on the show also get one of those.
Yes.
That depends how friendly you get with Larry. Anyways.
So mine, obviously if I'm going in somewhere, I don't want it to stand out that I'm carrying a knife. I just want it to be there if I need it. So I actually really like this Gerber. It's conveniently called the Covert carry, which that's not why I bought it, but it's also a cool name. It's just very low profile. It has the lock right here. So right now it's unlocked. It's just, one hand operation. It's just very easy, and it's not going to stand out a whole lot. So this is my personal favorite.
That's a key point though for physical pen tests. So right is blending in, not sticking out. It's very hard to show up in a nice suit and tie going into a law office or some big bank and carrying a tactical backpack, right? Like what you can fit in your pocket, what you can get through security, and how you choose to carry to blend in is a very key aspect of, not necessarily the glamorous cool stuff that people think that you have to use to get into a lot of places, right?
Right. Now, fortunately, these days, a lot more people do carry laptop bags, but there's also the option of like the leather briefcase type thing if it's a more upscale type target. But ideally, depending on what area you go into, those things will be searched. So ideally, if you don't have a bag, then you usually can go through a separate line, or, there are techniques that you can use to get things around in certain ways. So
like
that was really vague, but
yes, it was. Like what?
Okay, well,
now
you stick him up your bum, Josh. Come on now.
Well, I mean, if you're going through a metal detector, that might have mixed success. But
okay, so quick tip, and you'll probably, now that I'm going to tell you this, you'll probably realize it's a lot of places you go. So this is my wallet, and I think I sent you the link on wehackpeople.com. I have a breakdown of I call it my everyday carry wallet. So
yeah, we'll put links in the show notes.
Wallet.
Yeah.
Inside of it, I have several tools, such as my number one favorite, plastic shim. I've gotten into more places from improperly configured doors with this.
That is the most useful tool.
I also have gaffer tape on the back, which can be used for maintaining access, certain alarm bypass attacks.
Nice.
Just a lot of stuff with this. And getting to the whole alarm bypass thing, once I show you the other things that are in here, I have some picks and some quick shims and things. These are actually, my mind just went blank. They're not metal. They won't, ceramic. These are ceramic. Sorry. Okay, now that I remembered what I was trying to say. And so when I do have metal in my wallet, for example, this Hall Pass card, pretty useful tool.
Yep.
One of the things that you can do, and you'll notice, especially if you're going into a place where they say, okay, put your phone and your keys in this little bucket, and then that goes around.
Yeah, like when I went to the courthouse for my traffic ticket thing, and I had my Leatherman on me or something, right? And it was just a regular metal detector, right? And you put your little belongings in that little bucket just like you do at the airport.
Yeah, when you go in, they just want to scan your body. Mm-hmm. Put your keys in your wallet, or put your keys in your phone in the little thing that goes around, and then you walk through the scanner. So when you do that, you just put this under your phone, and then you go around. Something else too. These have actually gotten pretty popular now. I actually built this years ago before these got really big. I know Covert Instruments, Rob Pingor, and the guys there have one that you can buy. But this is just a whole pocket load of my basic bypass tools that gets me through almost anything.
And that's like that thing's I don't forget how they sell them, but it's a
key bar. I think
a key bar. I was struggling for the term, Josh. Right?
I think it's key bar.
You can take the screw out and put all your keys in it and carry them in one neat thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's normally with just keys, it's just like this. But I've taken a lot of my tools, and you can see my Shrum tool where I still have tape on it because I had to bend it, where I've melted the plastic and pulled it out of the plastic handle, bent this. So it's got a lot of homegrown tools on it too. But it's a key thing. So again, this my wallet, my phone, all goes past the metal detector, and I get it back. And now, like, I've got a lot of tools on me, minimal, and this is, part of my EDC are all the stuff in here, and of course these items that I've showed you already. So just these few things gets me into a lot of places.
Can you hold up that?
It's taken me a while to sort of figure out what works, what doesn't, like what tools are gimmicks, which things you actually use. So it's a lot of research into what works for me personally. It might vary, for professionals. So
can you hold up your credit card? No. Can you hold up your? It was a credit card size metal. It looked like a bypass tool. Explain how that works.
The
Sparrow's Hall Pass.
Yeah, explain that. I don't think I've seen one of those before. You guys seem to know what it is.
So basically, you have the shim. So if you have an inward opening door, you can put this in and open, like the old credit card trick.
Right.
If you have an externally facing door, you can put this in, and it basically slips the latch and then pulls it open.
Gotcha.
So it's that. You can also do the same thing with this hook, this drum tool, or traveler's hook, whatever you want to call it. Little bit difference. The difference is you can see the thinner profiles, a little bit longer reach here than with this. So kind of after a while doing this, you can look at something and see, okay, well, it's configured this way. This tool is going to work, or this would be better. Sometimes it's still a guessing game, but after a while you kind of figure out what works, what doesn't. So
that's really awesome.
Actually, I was a little mildly off topic, but going for knives and non-detectability. I have this in one of my bins on my desk. It's an older Night Force knife, and it's their Skindu, the Scottish one. You can hammer this through about a 1/4 inch of plywood, but it's non-metallic. So I used to teach police, because I used to be a cop. I used to teach how to get things past metal detectors and how to get things past searches and everything like that. And it's shocking how easy it is.
It is. It's very shocking, especially a weapon that size.
This you put in your shoe. It fits, under your foot basically, and since it's not metallic, it doesn't go off.
Ah, interesting. Pretty cool.
It's uncomfortable to walk on, but yeah.
I'm sure. Do they have a Dr. Scholl's version?
No. Sorry. It's what it is. And carving out the gel gets messy, so you got to carve out one of the foam insoles and put that in there. But actually, I just used to stick it in the shoe, put my foot in there, walk on it the 10 steps through the metal detector, and then go to the nearest bathroom and take it out and go, "Hey guys, you missed this." Because that was me teaching, hey, look what you missed. And I'd literally start pulling things out. Oh, here's handcuff keys. Here's knives. Here's ammunition. It was their faces.
One of the things you had mentioned, stuff I carry if I get kidnapped. So I have a few different variations of keys. They're all ceramic, which obviously is not metal. You place those in various positions around your body, depending on how you're restrained, so you can access them. So it's amazing how accessible this stuff is.
Oh, Searpick sells the diamond-coated wire and the Kevlar line that'll saw through zip ties if you use it correctly. And there's just some amazingly cool toys out there. Searpick had I think they had the executive set, which was handcuff shims and a set of Bogota picks and some diamond coated wire. So even if they were using something that wasn't a standard handcuff key or a standard shim on a handcuff, the diamond coated wire will cut through anything. It just might take forever, but it'll cut through it.
Yeah, I have, and I'll go grab it in a second. It's on a bookshelf over there. But another part of if I'm on an assessment for pen testing is, just this basic little keychain looking thing. Again, I've got quite a bit of gaffer tape around a paper clip. I have this mini pry bar which
That's
works
the
wonders.
Gerber shard. Yeah, I have several of those. They're cheap.
Now, the thing about this, it works, but it will leave marks on a wooden door. So if you get this, don't think you can just pry it open so that you can shim a door without leaving marks, because it will leave marks. Got this little tiny
so
SOG
if you
knife.
put gaffer tape on the shard, it won't leave marks. One, if you're careful, and two, if you lay it flat, the forked piece, if you lay it flat on a whetstone and sharpen it just a little bit, it'll create an edge in the V of the Gerber shard there, and that's a very nice edge. That's useful for cutting cordage or electrical cables.
Yeah, thanks. I'm going to do that actually. I have a few different of these that I've made. These are just soldered ends of copper wire that I can use for tripwires for alarm and other bypasses. And then I have this black light that I can use for fingerprinting on pin pads, things like that. Then again, just a lot of kind of random things. Let me go grab my little escape kit really quick, since we're sort of talking about that.
Yeah,
right
that
now.
sounds
I'll be right
cool.
back.
So many fun toys that I need to go buy now.
I know. Speaking of, Brent does have a lot of this, if not everything he's talked about on his website. I believe he shared the links with us already, but we'll ask him. Hold on, let me just see if I can find those really quick.
So speaking of knives, I actually had a hobby for a little while of picking up every TSA compliant multi-tool and thing I could find. And I picked up they make a Gerber dime bladeless. There's actually a SOG tool that was made for a very short time that was bladeless. There were a dozen different things you could buy that I had epic arguments with the TSA going, no, that doesn't have a blade. You're not allowed to confiscate it. It's a multi-tool. Does it have a sharp thing? No. Then give it back. And you can actually.
But it's tools. It looks like a knife, so.
Therefore, it is a knife.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
Josh, I have one that, and I can't remember where I got it, and unfortunately, I don't have that set of keys with me today because I took my wife's car and not mine. But it looks like a key, and it has two layers, and it folds. And when you unfold it, it comes off of the keychain. When you fold it up, it's got the ring at the end, and on it, one side is about a 1.5-inch blade. And when you fold it up, the blade folds onto the other half, which has ridges on it like a key. So it's layered like a key. And that goes on my keys, goes in my backpack, and I've traveled with that for almost 10 years. Yeah.
So I'll tell a story real quick. My wife and I were going to somewhere, I forget where, conference somewhere. And this is, back in the before times when we, used these things called airplanes. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know about them. And we were flying out of Philly, and my wife goes, "Oh crap, I have my Leatherman in my purse." And I said, "Don't worry about it. We're coming out of Philly." She's like, "What?" I'm like, "The TSA never finds anything in Philly." And I was right. We got through security, no problem. Got on the plane, flew. I said, "Coming back." So we mailed the Leatherman back home. But I mean, I flew out of Philly with, if you know the Vaquero knife. The older one, which is literally the blade's this long, it was in one of the hidden pockets of a bag. I didn't even know I had it on me. They didn't catch it in Philly. They caught it in Santa Clara on the way back. Twice, by the way.
That's impressive in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so you know what the catch ratio is for TSA, right?
Really low.
7?
5 or 7%, something like that. Yeah.
Crazy. So this first thing, this could, it's kind of part of an EDC, but it's a card. Fold it, clip it together. Now it's a knife.
That's pretty wild.
Kind of cool.
A falling blade has no handle.
It's sticking in my leg right now, but I'm being cool about it. So.
It's all good.
Falling blade has
He's
no
like,
handle.
"Oh, it's fine."
Yeah, I wiped the blood off already. It's cool. But, this, I mean, I don't really feel the need to carry it for like protection or anything. It's more of a, hey, this is kind of cool. So,
yeah,
it's a novelty.
But
I traveled with one of those for about a year and a half, roughly 40 flights.
It's
Well,
crazy.
always
In
a
your wallet?
report with you. Yeah.
Yeah, it is good if you're in a place where like, okay, there's absolutely no way I'm getting through with this, then this would be my alternative for that. So, going on to that, talking about the escape kit, and there's, there are some trainings you can get on some of this stuff, but and as far as a blade, this is a ceramic blade. It's a razor. It's super sharp.
Is that the one from LA Police Gear?
No, but I think there's a few different places that sell this particular thing.
CountyCom, sorry.
But it's pretty useful, especially if you know what you're doing with it. You can place it somewhere where you can actually access it. You need to cut your way out of something. Even more desperate situation, if you're like kind of going out of country somewhere, and it's like, if you get caught with that, it's really bad. Then there's this little micro blade that you can actually sew into the hem of your pants or somewhere that is a lot harder to detect, but it's got some little micro edges. It's blurry, but imagine, if you will,
Right.
A small serrated knife.
It looks like a mini hacksaw blade.
It's what it is.
Gotcha.
It's very tiny. It's really easy to conceal. Works great. Doesn't get detected through metal detectors. Talked about the handcuff keys. Here is, I usually have this one just on a bracelet, but I need to replace the elastic band. Works great. Here,
Is that a trope
so
car?
you have this version of it, and then
Oh,
you
yeah, the
have,
universal handcuff key, right.
yeah, and then you have these two versions, and I'm dropping everything, so that's cool.
It fell right to the hole where the knife made, right?
Yeah, so there's this. You can actually put these like on your shoes, or sew them places. Here's this one is actually my favorite. You can quickly clip it like inside of your belt or something.
Cuff of your shirt.
There's so much you can do with it.
Yep.
Oh god, I have that one zip tied somewhere on a bag. Like you could, it's hollow. You can run a zip tie right through it. So I have a zip tie through that going around the handle of a bag, and it's all black. So it's zip tied real tight, and I cut the zip tie off. So basically, if I ever need it, I have to rip it off the zip tie, and then it's available. But yeah,
that's nice. I think I have all of those. Through so much stuff. Here's the last thing I'll show you with the escape kit. But I took a pin out of a spring out of a pin, and I have these two different types of shims for various handcuffs. And the cool thing on the back of these is they're also serrated for cutting.
Nice.
You're kidding.
Imagine, if you will. I don't know if you can see that. But very useful. Again, there's so much you can do with these. Basically, it's kind of, imagination is the ceiling. So, and then if I want to carry it on a bracelet, I just throw them back in that. And then, so there's a lot you can do with it.
I mean, you could carry all this stuff on you and, as Tyler was saying earlier, be dressed in a suit and no one would be the wiser and you'd blend in really
Exactly.
nicely.
And I have a few different pick sets too, besides the one I showed you in my wallet. I have another smaller one too that I usually keep in this kit that also has the spring around it from the pin with a safety pin on it. And on a suit or whatever, I'll just pin it to the inside, and when I need it, I just pull them out of that spring. It's a Bogota and a single pick, and then took a tensioner that I sort of modified that it can be narrow or wider, and it's also about a half an inch shorter than normal, so that it's the same length as my small picks, and it will fit in a lot of cases too. So.
But
The funny thing about physicals and red teams is you've got all this gear that you do have to take with you on site, and you may need it in one form or another. And call it 80% of the time, you end up getting in with a piece of paper underneath of your armpit, or accidentally walking by and having the shoulder surf opportunity and being in there under a desk with none of your tools. So both of those happen a lot.
That is a thing that happens. Very true. It's nice to be prepared. If you have more high facility or high security facilities where everyone has to badge in, everyone is being visually verified. Those can be a bit more tricky, but there's always a way. There's always somebody that doesn't care, or somebody that just wants to get back because they took too long at lunch, or there's always a way.
Always a utility elevator. Like, you'll always have to
Those
have
are
a badge,
great.
back door. You'll always have an ESP key that you can get a badge and do your recon and be set up for it. But again, it's just the nerves to go through, right?
Yep. Sometimes you just it's something that Tim and I have noticed is the more bold you are, the more people don't even think about it. And you think it would be the opposite. Like why is he asking this? It's ridiculous. It's the mentality of the only reason they're asking for this is because they have the authority. So we have a few talks that we've given. One is called Security Guards LOL, where and we realized later maybe we should have named it something different. But the whole point is a lot of security posture rests on the shoulders of a handful of lower level security guards. If you just walk through the front door, we have one recently actually where we walked through the lobby. You had to have an access badge to get through turnstiles to get to the elevator, which required separate access badges per whatever floor.
Yeah,
and
it turns out jumping over those turnstiles is not a good idea.
Yeah, so when we got there, Tim was like, I could probably jump over one of these. And I knew what would happen if he tried it. And I was like, yeah, go ahead, try it. So he tried to jump over it. The alarms go off.
It sets off the alarm.
He was like, I'm just laughing. He was like, did you know I was going to do that? I was like, yeah. So, of course, we stood there and waited. The whole point in doing that was to see if anybody was going to come. And not long after we did that, throughout the lobby, we keep hearing other alarms from the other vestibules as well, from people scanning at the wrong time or whatever. But and it's always fun to try to go through that stuff. I love it.
He should have just kept running. I mean, he should have just been in full sprint, heart of the the hurdle jump in the in track, and just kept running.
Yeah, we always try to get each other on these things. It's like we always try to make one of us do something where because we want to give the client a win. We want them to catch us. Obviously not right away. We want to do some cool stuff first, but we give them a chance to try and catch us. And you go in the lobby, and in the center of the lobby are 4 or 5 different elevator vestibules. But before you can even get to those elevators, you have to badge in through turnstiles. Mm-hmm. So if you're jumping over a turnstile, the only other place you can go is to the turnstile on the other side,
right?
Unless you can have a badge to get into an elevator. So there weren't a lot of choices there. So, let's see. I had something else to. Oh, you talked about the leaky. I have one of those somewhere. Anyway, they're super tiny. They're easy to implant, and yeah, you put that on an access reader. That's the keys to the kingdom. So,
other than what you've shown so far, Brent, are there any other tools, electronic or not, that are kind of your most used on pen tests?
Yeah, I have. So my go-to. I'm starting to realize a lot more. I know if you've seen any of our presentations of this stuff before, I'm going to take this camera down here. But if you've seen any of our presentations before, we don't usually lockpick a whole lot on these assessments.
That seems to be a theme. I hear that theme a lot. Tyler says the same thing. Deviant says the same thing. Yeah,
there are instances, and we do certainly prepare for that. And I've made on my website too. I hate to keep plugging the website, but I have a stand that I built that mimics security gates, and so I can practice lock picking on the through a security gate from different configurations. And, we try that with all different types of locks. If we are able to do some recon and stuff beforehand and figure out what locks they're using, we'll try to get the same and practice with that. But I think I've realized with lock picks, most of the time what it's has been used on are shredder bins and basic, I guess, locks that are going into server rooms or mechanical closets. But exterior locks, we haven't really had to use them on those as much as you might think. But I do carry those all the time. I always carry, I showed you the key ring that has the traveler's hook. It has certain deadbolt bypasses. It has, let's see.
Universal wafer lock keys, right? You must carry.
Yeah, wafer lock keys. And I see that link that has that breakdown, because the key set that I showed you, I wrote a blog post on wehackpeople.com that lists every single individual item that I use on that.
Yeah, we have links in the show notes already. Yep.
All right, cool. My everyday carry wallet, it lists every single item and how I fit it inside my wallet. That way, if you look into it, you're not going to see that hall pass. You're not going to see my lock picks. We love the under the door tool. Tim and I managed to use that on every single assessment. It's a little bit clunky, I guess, to carry around. But
what is it now? An under the door tool?
The under the door tool is the really long wire that you put under a door, and then you get it around the L-shaped handle, and then you pull the wire and it opens it from the interior side.
You're effectively manipulating that L-shaped handle from the inside.
I've seen it as a solid piece of metal, but you're saying you can get like a wire that you can kind of uncoil.
That's the break. That's usually the breaker bar, the push bar bypass, not the under the the one usually has a wire or a string. And it's
and I have a custom J tool, or like the one for the double crash doors. I have a small version that I've made that fits in a pocket that you can put through the doors and turn it and then push the crash bar to open it. I use that quite a bit. Canned air is actually kind of a go-to. Right. And there's a straw that I use that has upgraded that attack like so much more. It's a thinner straw.
I see that.
It's a lot longer. So I can actually put it, if there's no physical gap in the bottom of the door where you usually put that, most of the time right in the corner of the door, there's enough gap to still get that long shop straw in there. And on the website too, I have a link to that, and it's made those canned air attacks a lot easier to utilize.
And that's to trigger the re-entry sensor, right?
The request for exit sensor. That only works if that request for exit sensor is configured to unlock the door. They should just prevent the alarm from creating a forced open state. But a lot of times they're configured incorrectly, and it will just unlock that door for you because it thinks someone's trying to leave. So
I like the straw though. That's different.
Yeah, it's really handy. I've been using that for a few years now. I think probably 4 years ago I started using that. So anybody that I talk to about stuff like this, I'm like, hey, you got to try that straw out. So, and that's the cool thing about this community too, is there are some people that don't like to share info and stuff, whatever, that's cool. But it's nice. Like if I figure something out that works really well and it's not breaking any sort of like non-disclosure, then I'm like, hey guys, try this out. It's awesome. So I like when people do that.
How has the pandemic changed your assessments? Have you been impacted by that, or is more recently that not as much of a factor?
More recently, not so much. At first, it's hard to do a physical pen test from home. So that did slow down. When we finally started getting comfortable enough, corporate started getting comfortable enough with my last job that they were saying, hey, do you want to go do these? And we're like, well, yeah, sure. There were two things. One, masks. If you were to walk into a bank with a mask on prior to COVID, they would have called the cops right away.
Yep.
Now it's a normal thing. So masks are a normal thing. So even if it's a smaller location where, let's say you go in and you say, hey, I'm here to fix the printer or whatever, it's easier to do that because even if it's a small branch and it's the same guy that's been working on the printer for 15 years, you can say, yeah, he's sick. He has COVID. I'm here to fix it. And you have a mask on or whatever. So there's that.
Yeah. So you just, you incorporate that into your pretext and your ruse essentially. And I'd also imagine it's easier to lie to people when you have a mask on. Right?
If you don't have a good poker face, then yeah, I suppose that helps.
Yeah.
One thing though, is because when you are face to face with people, and they can't see those micro expressions and things that if you're practicing them and just really good at kind of that trusting face, getting people to feel comfortable with you. If they can't see that you're smiling or certain things,
it can hurt you. Yeah.
Yeah. It does limit that. So it's a bit more of a bold approach. I guess you have to make your intentions more known as opposed to the kind of subtle things that you might do with your micro expressions or just your standard expressions, whatever you may be approaching that with. The other thing too is because so many more people work from home, they are strength in numbers as far as if you're going into a place where there's a lot of people, it's so much easier just to blend in. But if there are a lot less people there, then you've got to change your approach. Your confidence needs to be different. Your pretext, your time of entry. There are more things you have to consider because you don't have the numbers that you typically have. So there are
the person
things
staring
that you
at
have to change up.
Or certainly in higher security facilities, if there is someone looking at the cameras all the time, like, hey, a person, like that's odd.
Yeah. Might as well wear an orange vest, right?
Yep.
So it has changed a few things, but luckily where we've had quite a bit of fun doing this for a while. It didn't really, we kind of knew what we needed to do pretty quick, just kind of fell into it. So, but if there's somebody listening that is sort of new into it and you're not sure how to handle with COVID and new approaches, I'm more than happy to talk to you about those.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Are there new things you're working on for upcoming talks, Brent, that you want to share?
Sure. So obviously, we travel a lot doing this because, as I mentioned, it's hard to do a physical pen test from home. We've picked up a lot of tips and tricks for travel safety. We've mentioned some of that before, but we have a lot more that we're digging into as far as items you can carry with you to not only secure yourself while you are in your room, but to secure and hide your things when you are gone. Ways to not make yourself a target.
I thought they had a safe in every room in a hotel, right? Like there's a Bible and there's a safe, and most likely an iron, right?
Burn it in fire, but don't actually do that because you'll get arrested. But but don't use hotel safes.
Yeah. I think it was Deviant or someone that said like it's just insurance purposes why they have to have the safe in the room.
Probably Deviant, but yeah, it's insurance purposes. But there's no insurance on your end that it's safe because it's not. So, just again, like ways to hide your valuables. We have a lot of examples of others that we use, kind of showing this is how they're making themselves a target. We touch on, not to sound too tactical here, but we touch on the whole gray man theory quite a bit.
The what now?
Gray man theory.
What's that theory?
So gray man theory is the name of approaches that you can take where you're basically blending in any environment. So, for example, if you are walking down a shady street in New York at night, you don't want to be wearing something that says you're out of town. You don't want to be looking up at the top of the skyscrapers, because the people that look up at the top of the buildings are the people that are visiting. People that live there don't care about it. They're looking down at the ground,
making sure they don't step on shit or
yeah. If you're in a predominantly Muslim area, you probably don't want to walk around with Christian symbols on your shirt. Just things like that. Basically, these are rules to live by of whenever you're going somewhere, just quick things to look at so you can say, okay, this is how I blend in. This is how I look like a local. And so that's a 10,000 foot view of gray man theory. So we discuss those things in our travel talk. So
what's that saying? When in Rome?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Wear a toga?
When in Tulsa.
Yes. Yeah. When in Tulsa. Exactly.
Knowing your local area rules, travel customs, laws, doing this out of the country a few times, like there are very unique laws that regardless of what your letters say, you can end up in the wrong embassy at the wrong time and not get out of it.
Ask Tyler how he does
this. That's a great point. So just to touch on that too, there are some clients that may want you to gather visual and audio evidence of an entry or interaction. There are certain states where you cannot do that unless you say, hey, I'm recording this. You cool with that? Otherwise, whether it's presented in court or not that it would be for things we've done, it's just the fact that you are basically recording them without them knowing, and you don't have certain, I guess warrants or whatever. Yeah, there's, whether it's recording visual or audio or even drone laws or even certain laws for lock picking because of protection of the local locksmiths. I know Tennessee has a lot of restrictions on that, but yeah, those are a lot of things you got to look into.
For sure. Any other questions for Brent?
I've been wondering, as he talked about all the, how he's got things that don't look or very benign or otherwise concealed. Did you have any stories about where you lost equipment that was discovered despite your best efforts of it being benign and undiscoverable?
The question is, have I basically been caught where I was trying not to?
Yeah, with tools that were otherwise benign.
Yeah.
So the only times that we've been caught with an entry is we had a few different targets for the same client. Owned the first two pretty hard. On the way to the third, the client, in hindsight, I realized the client was sort of in a panic. They asked, well, what rental car did you get? And I answered it. And so you can kind of figure out where this is going. So by the time we pulled up to this other place, which was a huge industrial complex with multiple buildings, large parking lot, and it was lunch. So a lot of people were coming back from lunch, a lot of traffic. As soon as we stepped out of the car and onto the sidewalk, even before we got close to the building, we were approached by security guards. So that kind of sucked. Obviously they lost value for what they were paying for.
Yep.
Trying to save face, but we did get caught for that.
I think that's a lesson for the client too. I mean, kind of get their side, but I would have told you that was going to happen. I would have been, all right, you walked into the first two. Like, I want to make it a little harder. Like, let's say someone identified your car. You're going to go to the third one, and security's going to know what your car looks like. So know that going in, and now proceed with the rest of your test. To kind of blindside you like that, you're right. It diminishes the value. I think it increases the value if you assume portions of that breach, as we do sometimes on the not physical pen test, right? On the pen test of computers and networks.
Right. Yeah. There was another time too where we didn't have the badge yet. We were trying to see through tailgating and stuff just how far we could get day one right away after our recon. So we tailgated onto into the building, onto the elevator, onto the floor. And the gentleman in front of us started opening the door. And before he turned around, he's like, "I'm sorry, do you guys have badges?" And we said, "Yeah, but we're waiting on someone." And he said, "Okay, who is it?" So we dropped the name. He turned around, started to walk. Tim caught the door really quick with his foot at the bottom. And when the guy rounded the corner, we made entry. So while we were in this facility, we noticed this guy later. He came around with someone else, and they were actually looking for us because we were in the lobby waiting, and now all of a sudden we weren't waiting in the lobby anymore. But we managed to sort of skirt around that enough where we could do what we needed to. So we've had some close calls.
Year-over-year pen tests, too, are always interesting because you may end up with a wanted poster, and even if it's a new security guard, they will remember your face.
Yeah.
If it's hanging on their wall.
Ask Tyler how he knows this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tim had a security guard try to fight him once because after the assessment was done, and we had badged in, we cloned badges, we had badge cloners in. I had mine in a Starbucks food bag that I had my muffin in, and Tim had his in an empty coffee cup. And so, we cloned the badges, and then when we went to badge in the building, we were in the lobby, we were going past the main door into the facility, and the security guard was in his area watching a basketball game or something on his phone. And so here we are badging in. I'm badging in with a muffin bag, and he's badging in with coffee. And we do our thing. We were in there for hours. Anyway, on the debrief, when we showed him, obviously, he was not too happy about it. So he was trying to fight Tim in the parking lot. So
Jesus.
It's like he got promoted to a different position after that. So
Right. Janitorial services.
Management.
Question I had is, as you're working on getting engagement set up, I'm sure there's some minimum criteria, just like with a pen test where, somebody's not ready. What's the most common thing you find people aren't ready for you because it's just they don't have the basics down?
Man, the thing we've ran into a handful of times over the years is they will say, "Okay, we've signed everything. We've signed the letter. Everybody's good. We need you to show up this day, this date. So we will get there. Everything's good. Hey, we're here to meet with so-and-so." Like, "Oh, he's on vacation this week." They're like, "What?" So then,
Awkward.
2-3 hours later, after we step out and we finally find somebody else that can step in his place, and he is like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry." It's like, "What do you mean you forgot? Like, this is a serious thing. If you're not here and things go sideways, like we're not in a good place." So we've actually had that happen a handful of times over 8 years or so. But that's actually been the most common thing as far as the client side of stuff. Now, if you're looking at the physical posture, the security posture of places, it always comes down to what we can tell, just people not following protocols.
I think scoping is a huge thing for physical pen tests as well, right? Like ensuring that are the guards armed? Do they have dogs? Like, I'll do armed guards, no dogs. Do they do they outsource their security to the local police? Do they have a third party Security guard system, is it ex-military or are they not? Like all those kind of scoping questions where you can kind of figure out like where they're going to get value, but also the level of risk and liability that ultimately falls on you if this goes south.
Clearly, Tyler's willing to get shot, but he's not willing to get his ass chewed on by a dog.
Dude, you cannot get those damn Xanax, right? Like the dosage for dogs and Xanax only goes so far, and those people are pissed when their dogs don't wake up. So, like, no more dogs.
Yeah, so most of the time, it's very rare, but most of the time, so when we find out, okay, you have armed guards, that's confirmed. How many? But once we have confirmed that they have armed guards, then we basically take any after hours or nighttime entry off the table, because it seemed like during the day, it's a bit different as far as trying to de-escalate a situation if it goes south. When you're talking about nighttime entry, especially if it's a pretty guarded place or a bank or something like that, you never know when you're going to get that guy that has a really itchy trigger finger and is like looking for a reason. And you don't want to be on the receiving end of somebody like that, because it's a lot harder to de-escalate. So when there are armed guards, we basically take after hours off the table. That's sort of our rule of thumb. But yeah, that is a great question. When we do ask, okay, are they outsourced? If it's someone that's staffed permanently, from the client, we do ask, okay, what's their background? Because it is nice to know if it's someone that is, there's a career security guard, which is totally fine, or if it is someone that, ex-military, which has, let's say ex-military, which has, they've been in theater, like they've seen some bad stuff. Because most of the time, if we hear that's the case, then we know that usually they're going to have a pretty level head about things. They're going to want to try and reason through things. But if it's somebody that's never really been in that situation, or they're just kind of nervous person already, those are the ones that we kind of get concerned about.
That trigger control is important. Trigger discipline. It's always ex-military. Yeah. They're good. They're pretty good. Tactical guys, they're scary as shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like one of the Gravy SEAL guys.
The Gravy SEAL, I love it.
Gravy SEAL. Meal Team 6.
I've not heard Meal Team 6. That's awesome. But no, I'm not knocking security guards by any means. I think it's more of, when you're dealing with a covert entry, where you're basically assuming the position of a criminal, or, someone's breaking in after hours or whatever it may be. There are times where that looks really shady. Yeah, somebody comes up behind you while you're picking the lock and you didn't hear them. There are ways to talk yourself out of it, but if it's somebody that's nervous and they have a gun and it's after hours and they've got a lot going on personally, and they, you never know what the situation is. So those are really good questions to ask during scoping.
Yeah, more dangerous the less training they have.
Are you able to? Do you ever find in your scoping or engagement interviews that there are areas that are dangerous for you to go to, so you should stay away from them for various reasons? I'm not talking just about the trigger happy guy.
Yeah. So, if it's let's say if it's a commercial place, let's say a factory, for example. There have been factories that, clients that have factories that say, don't go in this area because, it could be a hazardous material. Or if you're in this area and you hear this alarm, make sure you put on this mask and exit immediately, So it's not always trigger happy, but there could be some hazmat situations or just personal safety situations because of equipment, things like that. So those are things that we consider as well.
Also, what I found working at the university, though, is that when there's a door that has the biohazard symbol on there, sometimes that's just there so people stay out, because they don't want to talk to people. And then I'm like, wait a minute, you got a biohazard sign on the door. They're like, oh, no, we just put that there so no one bothers us because we don't like to talk to people. We're like research scientists. We don't want to talk to people. I'm like, I don't believe you. Fair point. But I thought I was going to have to be in full hazmat gear to go through this door.
A lot of the food industry ones are really, really interesting because you can actually mess up whole batches if you're not, being considerate, understanding, what your policy is, what you got to suit into the process of suiting in power. You don't want a 13.8 volt line in a substation or walk through a lockout tagout area that you're going to get picked up on. Like there's a bunch of really high risk things in ICS or OT too.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, even down to network pen. So there have been times where we've done network pen tests and like, okay, give it SCADA controls for oil pumps or whatever it may be. You can really mess some stuff up if you don't know what you're doing. So, or another thing too is if the facility is in a construction zone and you're doing that at night, you got to be careful because I've not me personally, but I've heard of people nearly falling into like 10-foot holes because they didn't see the caution tape. Mm-hmm. So could be a bad day. So you always ask like, hey, where should I stay away from? That should always be a question.
Yeah. And again, same sort of thing of back to, when in Rome, I think one of the few times I'd ever been caught doing a physical assessment, Tyler, I know I've told you this one, that was able to get into the facility, did the tailgating, wandered around, plugged USB stuff in, sat at people's desks for 10, 15 minutes while they were all in meetings. The only way I ended up getting caught on that one was walking into the manufacturing floor, and I didn't have I didn't have my PPE on. I didn't have a hard hat and safety goggles on. That's the only reason I got busted, because I wasn't dressed appropriately for the space I was in.
Mm-hmm.
That just says that your situational awareness was off, that you didn't notice that they were wearing PPE.
Oh, I
and
did.
Didn't put some on.
I did. I just didn't care.
Okay. That's valid. Then you were aiming to get caught. I mean, let's be honest.
At that point, I was done doing everything I needed to, so it was well.
Oh, sorry. Where's the bathroom?
Yeah, right?
Yep.
That's a great one.
I've got domain admin. Time to get caught,
Well, stay safe out there, I think is the message when you're doing physical pen tests. Brent, I just have 5 questions left for you. You ready to play 5 questions with Security Weekly?
Let's do it.
3 words to describe yourself.
Short, funny, and not serious.
If you were a serial killer, what would be your weapon of choice?
Ice. Sickle.
If you wrote a book about yourself, what would the title be?
My life. I'm creative. ?
What is your favorite hacker movie?
Hackers.
Yes. Choose 2 celebrities to be your parents.
Alive, dead, fictional, or otherwise.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay, Elon Musk because he's crazy and has lots of money. And then let's say, well, that's it, because then you don't have to fight with mom and dad.
Nice.
That was like so genuine and from the heart. That's fully transparent, Brent. That's just one reason we love you. And I thank you so much for appearing on Paul Security Weekly this evening.
Yeah, this has been awesome. I really appreciate it. Anytime you want to help get those ratings down on your show, just have me back, all right?
Aw, so sweet.
No, Brent, it was great. Thank you so much. With that, we'll take a short break, come back with a fabulous technical segment. Learn how to do stuff coming up next.